400 years after Tiber Septim's reign, the beginning will meet the end, and the bloody circle will close at the empire of Tamriel. The unworthy heirs of the Septim dynasty have allowed the bonds of the empire to weaken and crack. Uriel Septim, the Seventh, cannot repair what his ancestors ignored. The provinces fight among themselves like neglected children, drunk with rebellion, and one indomitable power hides itself, but not forever.
Excuse the gloom, but none may know of this meeting. The nature of my trouble is darker still. Over a year ago, King Lysandus of Daggerfall died honorably on the field of battle. He was as loyal a subject, ally, and friend as you are. I did grieve for him, but his spirit does not rest. With a spectral army, he haunts his former kingdom, crying for revenge. I do not know why a good and loyal man would be so cursed. Perhaps you can find the answer and close the marble jaws of oblivion, bringing peace to his soul. I ask this as your emperor and your friend. I have one lesser request. Several years ago, I wrote a letter to the Queen of Daggerfall. It never arrived. The letter was of a sentimental and personal nature. If you find and destroy that letter, I will be grateful. Now, my champion, rest well this night, for tomorrow you sail for the kingdom of Daggerfall.
Hello everyone, this is Trev the Dev here, and today I'm going to be reviewing my most favorite Elder Scrolls game, or just favorite game in general, The Elder Scrolls II: Daggerfall. Daggerfall holds a special place in my heart. While it was actually the last Elder Scrolls game for me to get my hands on and play, I have sunk the most hours into it by far, second only to, of course, Skyrim, which I have been playing since like December of 2011, which was actually my first Elder Scrolls game as well, but still. It was surprisingly only 2015 or 2016 whenever I actually got my hands on Daggerfall for the very first time. And I actually sadly started playing it on an old Motorola Druid Racer Max HD, which is not even a modern phone for the time. It was actually very fun. I remember being in Gothway Garden and having a friend on the phone call while I sat there in shock of a bunch of burglars trying to kill me at night. In a way, Daggerfall has felt more alive than any other video game I've ever seen, played, or heard of before. And it never seemed bad or unenjoyable. Even with its constant bugs and crashes, which can be entirely patched out via unofficial and official patches, it never stops giving crazy things for my imagination to bite into. Daggerfall has the perfect mix of realism and fantasy. For example, you can go and join the Mages Guild, get a quest that requires you to put a restless person to sleep, and then to do said quest you have to know the sleep spell, obviously, and if you cannot afford this spell, if you do not know it already, then you can go to the bank and get a loan. Then you can buy the spell, and then put the person to sleep, and then use your reward money to pay back the loan. It bridges the gap between reality and the Elder Scrolls' universe. You can do all sorts of awesome quests that have multiple choices. Daggerfall is truly the only Elder Scrolls game where you can complete the main quest in your way with your ending. Julian LeFay really knew what he was doing whenever he sat down and designed this thing. In retrospect, Morrowind almost made you feel like you had choices, but never really gave you proper choices. For example, you are told that if you do not join Daggerfall, then you will be, attacked. This is your last chance. But sadly, they actually never give you the legitimate option to join Daggerfall, which is really disappointing, although the director of Daggerfall wanted you to be able to. The reason being is because they wanted everyone to have the same experience canonically. In other words, my Nerevarine, who saved Morrowind, is canon just as much as my friend's Nerevarine, who also saved Morrowind. That's why we're never told the gender, race, or anything of the main characters ever since Arena. We don't know what gender any of the characters are, besides the Nerevarine technically being male, but that also could just be an accidental retcon from Bethesda. We don't really know yet, but still. Daggerfall is truly an endless game too, as there will always be another dungeon, another city, another quest, and another story to tell. Its replayability is off the charts. If you want to play an Argonian who can heal underwater and take damage in the Temples of the Divines, you can. If you want to play a Nord who's allergic to leather and heals in daylight, you can. You can truly customize your character in an infinite set of ways, defining rules and limits along the way. Unlike other Elder Scrolls games, you can also be given a backstory if you choose. It generates the backstory based off of what you chose in your character creation, which makes for a very interesting touch. Unlike the other Elder Scrolls games, not everything is tied together. The guilds behave inherently differently and have completely different, unique characteristics. While Oblivion did an absolute incredible job at guild quest lines, I dislike how you became the center of everything in the end, which is funny considering throughout Oblivion's main quest, which is where it would matter, you happen to actually just be not the protagonist, you are a side character. Although you are still prophesized, so unlike in Arena and Daggerfall, you're not just kind of the right guy for the right job at the wrong time. The Fighters Guild generally handles helping out clans, take down monsters, and other things. For example, your grandmother's cat got stuck in a tree, and you don't know what to do. You call the Fighters Guild. You know that spider inside of your tavern that's just way too big for you to step on? You call the Fighters Guild. The Mages Guild is an academic research group dedicated to the study of magic or other related things. You can stop evil experiments that went wrong or defeat corrupt mages. You can find and collect research papers, and so much more. Daggerfall was a very gritty game, with torture rooms, vicious screams, distant roars of all sorts, and much more. My first dungeon experience was absolutely terrifying. You have to constantly save and pray to Talos that you don't die. Oh, and Talos doesn't exist yet, by the way. The ending of Daggerfall is actually what creates Talos, which I'll cover in just a little bit. Dungeons were randomly generated back during the development of Daggerfall, and then hand-tweaked by hand later on. Some of the dungeons were actually entirely handcrafted. Whether they were randomly generated or not, they were absolutely incredible for even 2018 standards, with brick walls that teleport you to puzzle areas full of levers and different trapdoors and switches to very complex patterns you have to learn, to giant evil layers of doom. It seems like some guy sat there and thought of it all, though in reality, it was just generated. The story of Daggerfall is very complex. You can't really summarize it like the other games. The Emperor sent you to exorcise a ghost king who was betrayed on the battlefield, and he sent you to find a letter and destroy it. This letter actually sends you on your journey to reactivate a brass god to create peace across all of Tamriel and put an end to the wars of the Iliac Bay. Unlike the other games, The main quest was entirely non-linear. You could do many different parts of it in many different ways, and depending on your own actions, you could write history in many different ways. All this brings in question, how exactly did Bethesda explain handling the end of Daggerfall in Morrowind? Well, it's simple, of course. Every time this god is activated, time is broken in an event known as Dragon Break. Time becomes non-linear, thus all outcomes happen in the same linear temporal dimension. To put it easily, all 6 endings happened at the same time. Everyone got the key to the brass god and reactivated. Thus, the Underking, who is both Tiber Septim and Zoran Arctis in different ways, gets his proper restful death, and eventually becomes Talos. Talos is 3 beings, not just Tiber Septim. Orcs become officially recognized as a race of elves by the Empire. Daggerfall, Wayrest, and Sentinel have control over the Iliac Bay, as does Orsinium, the Orc Empire, and the Empire crushes all rebellions. The King of Worms becomes a god, known as the Necromancer's Moon. Now there are 2 versions of him, one is a man and the other one is a moon, and then the Agent, the main character, is crushed by the Numidium. Daggerfall is overall a very advanced and unique game. It has tons of very complicated and amazing features. You can climb walls, kick down doors, properly rob a place, complete or fail realistically timed quests, buy tons of huge houses, buy ships, buy horses and wagons, take over a fortress, become a werewolf or a werebore, use a fully fledged banking system, and much more. Vampirism is also the most developed I've ever seen in Daggerfall, more so than any other game I've ever played. You get genetic bonuses based off of what family of vampirism you have, and each different vampiric family has different political views, affiliations, making for a very, very different experience each time. To cure vampirism, you have to kill your bloodfather. There are also secret cults and all sorts of other things in Daggerfall's wilderness. Another awesome role-playing element is the ability to speak to beasts. You can talk to Daedric, Dragonish, Nymph, Orcish, and all sorts of other languages. This allows you to pacify said creatures so they don't attack you in dungeons. The world of Daggerfall is absolutely massive, taking you throughout the Iliac Bay, featuring roughly 60 different regions, each with their own political views, alliances, enemies, wars, etc. The world is very diverse, full of mountains, swamps, jungles, dense forests, tundras, snowy fields, etc. Sadly, Daggerfall is also the last Elder Scrolls game where buildings get covered in snow when it starts to snow. Where the land is diverse, much of it is empty and generally flat, as mountains are so large you actually don't notice that you're going up or down one. Though there are several smaller mountains where you can actually visually tell that there is a mountain there. The world is constantly changing, regions are going to war, rulers die, and new kingdoms come and go. The dynamic political system is very great, and I'm sad to see it has to go in the later games. I give Daggerfall a solid 10 out of 10, though not many people, if anyone else, will give it this rating, due to the constant bugs, honestly kind of generic fantasy setting, and the overall repetitiveness of the game. I find that all easy to look past, not due to nostalgia glasses or anything. Again, this is the last game in the series that I've actually gotten to play, and that was only in 2016 or so. I just find the game generally overall extremely enjoyable, and it's always a game I can pick up and play. On top of that, it is also free and runs in DOS, which means that any device that runs DOSBox can play it flawlessly, including Linux, Android, and maybe in the future even iOS. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. It's actually my first game review, and this took like weeks and weeks to make because I suck at getting things done, and I'm just using my ThinkPad X220T and an old broken Turtle Beach headset for recording, so that's why the audio quality is so crap. And generally the script was kind of a mess to write, and so yeah, just hope you guys like this review. It's my honest opinion and take of the Elder Scrolls 2. Let me know if you guys want me to do any other reviews like this, and yeah, please subscribe, like, etc. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.